Welcome to Heavy Talk. I'm your girl, Heavie Chartnese, aka Heavie, and I am back on an episode of Heavy Talk, here to serve up some more straight talk with no chaser. I know. We're a little late with this episode, but we're going to get into why that is on the next episode. You could kind of maybe guess from our check that has something new written on it that wasn't there before on previous episodes. We'll talk about that and what that is all about on the next episode. But since I'm late, I'm going to get right into it. I'm not going to hold you up. Starting with our daily word, our inspiration of the day. Today's word is collaboration. It is nearly impossible to do everything by yourself, especially as a creative entrepreneur or business owner. Be open to collaboration. Use your discernment when choosing who to collaborate with. That's your word of the day. And as always, make sure that you follow at HeavieTalk on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook for daily words and daily inspiration. Now let's get right into today's episode, starting with what has become, as I always say, a reoccurring podcast segment or podcast topic, and that is things that are going on with the environment, because there are definitely things that are going on. And at this point, we're not trying to take care of the world so that our nieces and nephews and grandchildren have a world to live in. At this point, it's about making sure that we have a world to live in, because it's getting bad out here. Let's start with new information that has come out from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. So in a previous episode, we talked about how it came out that July 2023 was the hottest month on record. I was like, WTF is going on? I thought it was kind of hot, but it's been confirmed that it was hot as F in July this year. But July has been topped by August. A new report came out from, like I said, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, and the report said last month was a 534th consecutive month with temperatures above the 20th century average. That wasn't it. August 2023 set a record for the hottest monthly sea surface temperature. WTF. Keeping with the hot vibes, as of September 8th, this is the last posted article that I read about this. I talked about on another episode that we were going to get into a city that was at consecutive days of 110 plus degrees. Well, I'm here to tell you what that city was. Who that city was, and it's Phoenix, Arizona. As of September 8th, Phoenix, Arizona was at 52 consecutive days at 110 plus degrees. They almost broke the record. The record stands at 53, and it was set in 2020. I cannot imagine living somewhere where for consecutive days it is beyond 100 degrees. That's saying something. Now we're getting to 110 plus. I just couldn't imagine. I would have to move. The hot temperatures aren't only in the US and other countries. It is also hot as F there as well. In Dubai, it is so hot that the beaches are staying open all night long. Usually how the weather seems to work, not meteorologist, but from what I just know just by living, by nighttime, it usually starts to like cool off. Apparently not with this new climate change. At nighttime, specifically in Dubai, it's still hot, so much so that the beaches are staying open all night. What we're gonna do, as I've said on previous episodes, please do your part. Do your part to take care of the environment. That means carpooling. If that means recycling, that means using paper straws. Please do your part. Let's make sure that we have a world to live in. Please, will ya? Thank you. Now let's get into some entertainment news. I first want to talk about a show that I used to watch all the time that I kind of just fell off, but I need to start watching it again, clearly, called All Rise. It is a show, just a brief summarization about a Black judge And overall, she's trying to just make a change and make an impact in the justice system. At first, this show was canceled by CBS after 2 seasons, and after it was canceled, and a lot of fans talked about how it was a really good show, OWN, which used to be owned by Oprah Winfrey before she sold it, OWN had picked up the show. Now, the show has reportedly been canceled again. I just hate to see, I'm talking about this because I hate to see really good Black shows that just are overall positive and put people in a good light and just aren't so drama based. Those shows seem to get canceled very quickly. But the shows that show a lot of drama and maybe don't show Black people in the most negative light, those shows rarely seem to get canceled. Leading into Zeus and all of these new shows that just depict specifically Black women just fighting. It's so many shows now that just show Black women fighting. Like I don't really get the point of it. I don't know why this is. And when I seen a tweet that said that, I immediately thought about Zeus. I don't even know why people even feed into that network, but it seems like so many shows on Zeus, in my opinion, it's just full of drama, starting with the baddies. It's like, I don't know the specific name. I think it's like Baddies East, Baddies West, like all those shows just have drama. Then I think they did a spinoff or a new show that's kind of similar to the Baddies East, West, whatever. And it's like Bad Boys. Same thing with the baddies that just show Black men or men just acting a fool. Then you got Jocelyn's show that's also on Zeus. And we already know, if you're not familiar, go look up Jocelyn. I think it's called Jocelyn's Cabaret. That's on Zeus. Like we seen all the chaos that went on, I think with her last taping, when people was fighting and somebody pressed charges and someone I think got jumped or something like that. And then you got the Krishan and the Blueface show that's now on Zeus. Like it just seems like they literally focus on just negative and then the really sad part is there are a lot of Black people that are on these shows that are on Zeus Network. So it's, to me, it's just all around disheartening, especially with the Blueface and the Krishan part. I even hate that we even gave them attention starting at the very beginning when they used to be wilding on social media, because all of the attention that we gave them, we, the people, we on social media, I feel like we the one that propped them up to even get a show on Zeus Network. If we wouldn't have paid them no mind and blogs like the Shade Room and Neighborhood Talk and all of these platforms didn't even post about them, all of these blog sites, maybe they would have just fizzled out. But because we fed into it so much and we made them like a trending name, a trending topic, it propped them up so much for Zeus would even give them the show. So it's really just sad all around. To me, not even speaking about just like the recent things that have gone on with Krishan and Blueface with the baby. That aside, all of their previous antics, like I really blame us. We made this happen. We should have just deaded it. And we can really do that now because it's even getting sadder with a child involved. Can we just please just stop paying them any mind instead of just giving them prayers, thoughts and prayers, then just like leave it alone. Leave it alone. Speaking of trash TV and just trashy things, let's get into Tubi in the film or the movie that they put out reenacting the Shanquella Robinson incident. So if you're not familiar, Shanquella Robin was originally from Charlotte. She, story that I know offhand, she went on a friend's trip to Mexico, and during that trip, she passed away. There's been a lot of conflicting information or just stories about how exactly she passed away. This story really went viral because this video came out of Shanquella and it looked like she was fighting with some friends and it looked like she was drunk. So people just started speculating, like, for one, why was this video even put out? For two, like, why would anyone stand around and just watch someone get beat up, especially if they're drunk? Like, what kind of friends are that? And then you lead into her dying and just all of the conflicting stories associated with that. So it's just very sad story all around. If you're not familiar with it, go research it. So this happened not that long ago. Shanquella has never got justice for it. We don't know exactly what happened to her. Shanquella's family is still dealing with all of this. And here Tubi come out with a reenactment of the Shanquella Robinson incident. How tacky is that? I didn't just think it was tacky. Social media just did think it was tacky. Shaquilla's family thought that it was very, very tacky and just not right. So much so that they sent a cease and desist to Tubi for this series that they put out. It's like people just have no coof, no decency, no morals nowadays. Like they'll just do anything just for like capitalist purposes. It's all about self. No one cares about or looks into the best interests of other people. Just really sad. So please stop supporting platforms, networks like Zeus and Tubi, who clearly don't care about Black people or the Black experience. Please. More of people not caring about Black people or the Black experience, let's talk about the co-founder of Rolling Stone. By now, you probably already know what I'm talking about, but if you don't, let me tell you. The co-founder of Rolling Stone was doing an interview where he was talking about his new book that's coming out, this book about music called The Masters. In this book, it features interviews with only white male musicians, which would lead the person that was interviewing him to ask, like, why aren't there any women? Why aren't there any Black people? So when he was asked why aren't there any women and why aren't there any Black people, he said in just like this, I won't say in just, I'll read exactly what he said. Of Black artists, you know, Stevie Wonder, genius, right? I suppose when you use a word as broad as masters, the fault is using that word. Maybe Marvin Gaye or Curtis Mayfield, I mean, they just didn't articulate at that level. In jazz, what I'm hearing is Black musicians just aren't that articulate, especially when he's saying his book is called The Masters. What he's saying is, to me, Black people aren't that articulate and they definitely aren't masters at their craft. This is what this book is all about, masters. So this is why they aren't in the book. Immediately when these quotes from this interview came out, social media was just not having it. The co-founder faced a lot of backlash for these comments. Shortly after, I mean, this happened quickly. After this interview came out and after the backlash, it was reported that he was removed from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame Board of Directors. Now, the irony in this situation is he is a co-founder of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So not you co-found something, they get you up out of here. My, how those tables turn. Again, on people not valuing Black people, the Black experience, our culture, our contributions. It's just absurd, but they gonna learn today just like he learned. Now let's get into the Heavie Sports Corner. I want to first talk about some news in Major League Soccer. I really don't know that much about Major League Soccer. I don't watch it, even though it seems quite interesting, so I might have to start watching it soon. But I do have some news to report about that. And of course, it's showing Black girl magic on display because I love seeing my Black girls, my Black women do great things. Natalie Simon made history. She became the first woman to referee a Major League Soccer match. So congratulations for Natalie Simon. Continue to put Black girls on display. And as I always say, Black representation is key. Now, lastly, in the Heavie Sports Corner, I want to talk about Stephen A. Smith and comments that he made while he was on the Joe Budden podcast. So when he was on the Joe Budden podcast, he was asked pretty much what was going on with Max Kellerman, Was there any tension? Like what's the whole deal with that? If you watch First Take and Stephen A. Smith is really doing that Max Kellerman era, you could see that there was a little tension that was going on with Max Kellerman. Like you maybe couldn't really get to the bottom of it. It was all maybe speculation as to what was going on between them, but you could definitely tell that there seemed to be a little bit of beef going on between those two. Shortly after, it was evident to viewers that there was something going on. Max Kellerman wasn't on First Take anymore, and then he went on to get his own show on ESPN before he was laid off during those mass layoffs that happened at ESPN a couple of months ago. While on the Joe Budden podcast, these are the comments that Stephen A. Smith made about Max Kellerman and why he was taken off the show or why there was just tension. He said, "I thought the show was stale. I thought that we had flatline when it came to the public at large, and I'm trying to win. You weren't an athlete and you weren't a journalist, and the absence of the two components left people wondering, why should we listen to you?" When these clips came out from the Joe Budden podcast and people were saying what Stephen A. Smith said, quite a few people had a lot to say, and a lot of what people were saying weren't really backing what Stephen A. Smith said. If anything, people were calling out the hypocrisy in Stephen A. Smith's comments, mainly because a main criticism that people have of Stephen A. Smith is he himself is not an athlete. So a lot of athletes call him out for that. Like, you're speaking about this sport, whether it's basketball or football, as if you play or as if like, you know what you're talking about. Like, you've never competed at this high level. So how can you speak about it as such? So for Stephen A. Smith to say the same thing about Max Kellerman, that's very, very hypocritical. Then his point about saying that people were just, left wondering, why should we listen to you? And that the show had flatline. I agree with what a lot of people on social media were saying about those comments, that we really watched the show for Max Kellerman, and that Max Kellerman, Stephen A. Smith exchange. Like, that's what drew people in. I honestly stopped watching it once Max Kellerman left. So for him to say that the show was like flatlining and that people were saying, why should we listen to you? I don't completely agree with that. A lot of people watched the show for Max Kellerman, like what he was saying. Getting to the bottom of what a lot of people, including me, really feel like the main problem was, and why Stephen A. Smith got Max Kellerman off the show, and why there was tension on quite a few topics when social impact or social justice topics would come up or Black issues would come up. Max Kellerman more so got the point, or is able to speak to that more than Stephen A. Smith was. And that's very interesting, seeing as that Max Kellerman is a white man and Stephen A. Smith is a Black man. So you would think that, Stephen A. Smith will more so understand and speak to these issues more than Max. But that was not the case. On quite a few topics, Stephen A. Smith's stance was very, very bizarre. How is Max Kellerman getting it and understand, and you're not? I do think that that's why Stephen A. Smith was upset, and that's why there was tension, because it was evident, topic after topic, when it was about Black people or the Black experience. Max was on point with this commentary, and Stephen A. Smith's commentary was just off. It was not hitting where it needed to hit. So I think that definitely fed into whatever other tension or problems that they had, that in fact played a big part in that. Now let's get into all the things that had me like WTF, because the streets have definitely been a raging. Let's start with reports that came out that hackers had got into the MGM Resorts computer systems, shutting down casino slot machines, ATMs, and guest room doors in hotels. These hackers are going nuts. Not you hacked the whole casino. What kind of IT person did MGM have where they were hackable? Yikes. Speaking of hackers, people stealing, not doing right, a video came out showing Miami TSA agents stealing from passengers' bags at security checkpoints. WT in the F. Now, did you not know first? Why are you stealing? Stealing is just not right. Two, did you not know that there was cameras? Like, you work at the airport. Don't you know that there's cameras everywhere? How did you think that you were not going to get caught? According to reports, detectives found surveillance footage that showed the officers diverting passengers' attentions during the screening process to facilitate the theft of money from their belongings. So you tried to distract the passengers and steal their money and their property, not thinking that you was going to be not thinking that you were going to be caught in 4K on the cameras. WTNVF. This is just beyond me, and it really shows that people be lying and they will stick to their lie until footage or evidence is proven. A Colorado representative, believe how you say her name is Lauren Bohart, was escorted out of the Beetlejuice musical after allegedly vaping and recording on her phone. So when this report came out that she was escorted out of the musical because she was vaping, she first came out and said it's not true, it didn't happen, she wasn't vaping. Then a video came out showing that she was in fact vaping, so she apologized. Then an extended version of the video came out showing her engaging in inappropriate behavior. I mean, she was with a male companion. There was quite a bit of groping going on between both parties. She was grabbing for parts and he was grabbing for parts. You are doing this in public? Ma'am, are you serious? Even her own Republicans have called her out for this. Meghan McCain, John McCain's daughter, tweeted, "She lectures everyone about the LGBT community being a threat to children while getting caught performing a lewd sex act in a public theater where children possibly were. This is family values. This is why people think the GOP are all hypocrites." That was a bar by Meghan McCain. A straight bar. And Lauren, honestly, you need to do better. WT in the F, ma'am. This one right here, I'm flabbergasted. I don't even know what to say. Connecticut man arrested for keeping $5K he found in a parking lot. Man by the name of Robert, the article says, thought he hit the lottery when he found a bag of about $5,000 in cash in the parking lot of a Connecticut bank. Shortly after he found his money, he was arrested and he was charged with third-degree larceny. Finders keepers, losers weepers. I don't understand how it's larceny. I don't understand how he stole it. If he found it, is it not his? Somebody needs to create him a GoFundMe leak because I think that he's been unjustly charged. I think people are getting slower and slower by the day. Authorities are reminding the public not to climb into toilets after a Michigan woman got stuck in an outhouse while trying to receive her Apple Watch. WTF, lady, was your Apple Watch that serious where you're gonna crawl in the toilet trying to get it? Chalk it up so you just took a L. You really gonna dig in the toilet trying to get it for one, then you dig in there and you get stuck? How embarrassing is it having to call 911 to get rescued because you was stuck in the toilet and they asked you, how'd you get in here? Because I was trying to get my Apple Watch. The toilet was removed and a strap was used to hoist the women out to safety. Again, WT and the F. Speaking of people getting dumber and dumber and people thinking that we are dumb, Travis Scott's attorney in the Astro World case, if you don't know, Travis Scott hosted like an Astro World festival or concert. A lot of people lost their lives. People were injured. Go research that if you're not familiar. So Travis Scott's attorney in that Astro World case says the rapper can't hand over cell data because his phone is at the bottom of the Gulf of Mexico. How dumb does Travis Scott and his lawyer think that we are? His attorney should be hit with contempt because you playing in our face now. Just when we need this phone, he happens to drop it in the Gulf of Mexico. Yeah, okay. Google has been sued by the family of a North Carolina man. They claim the company's map application last year led the man to drive off a collapsed bridge and fall about 20 feet to his death. Honestly, I'm surprised that more lawsuits haven't came out like this because Google Maps has sent me off quite a few times. So I'm honestly not that surprised, and I would not advise anyone to use Google Maps. Maybe you should use MapQuest. WTF, y'all. WTF. Authorities asked for the public's help in finding a missing fighter jet after a pilot ejected during a mishap. The jet was left in autopilot mode, so there was a possibility that it was airborne somewhere in South Carolina. Now, the jet has been found, or they found parts of it because I think I read that it blew up. The WTF part is the US government, the armed forces asked the public to find a missing fighter jet. All of the resources that we have for the military, all of this funding, and y'all couldn't find it yourselves. That's a bit alarming. 9 juvenile inmates have escaped from a detention center in Pennsylvania. The WTF moment here is I believe that there was another story about an inmate that escaped from jail in Pennsylvania. And just across the country, there's just been different stories recently of people escaping from jail. Or do we not have enough officers? Have they lax on their protocols? What is going on here? That's the one job, that's the one area where you can't cut the budget because then people just are escaping clearly. Do y'all remember that really good Colorado versus Colorado State game that had us up all night? Deion Sanders had us up all night with that game. Do y'all remember? The Colorado State kicker apparently was 31 years old, married with kids. There isn't no age limit to be a college athlete. You could be 31 years old. WTF, holy moly. That wraps up everything I had my WTF for today's episode. Unfortunately, we've made it to the end. Hope that you enjoyed it. I'm sorry for the delay, but we will get into why that was on the next episode of Heavy Talk. I will catch you here, same place, same time for more Straight Talk with No Chaser. Make sure that you have a good week. And remember our word of the day, collab. You cannot do everything by yourself. Use your discernment when you are seeking out collaborations. I'm your girl, Heavie, and I will catch you next time. I'm out.